You're listening to Transcendental Talks Toronto, transcending your mind, elevating your consciousness. Welcome to another episode of Transcendental Talks Toronto, the podcast where we connect with each other through discussions about elevating our consciousness from a spiritual perspective. Through conversations with a variety of guests, we will delve into how to balance material and spiritual pursuits, experiences along the spiritual journey, self-improvement, the balance of bhakti yoga or devotion to the divine, challenges, tips, and inspiration, all in a way that is deeply relevant and fun.
Today's topic will focus on the power of bhakti yoga and how it can transform one's life. Bhakti means connecting to the divine source through means of loving service. And our topic, or for today's podcast, will cover exactly that, the different ways we can apply bhakti into our day-to-day life. I'm Punya Shravana.
And I'm Radha Priya, and we are your hosts at Transcendental Talks Toronto.
Today, we're so excited to welcome a friend, mentor, guide, father, husband, and so much more onto Transcendental Talks Toronto. Sudarshan Prabhu, we're really excited to have you on our show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm very much excited to be a part of this conversation, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited. And to get started, we'd actually love to know when you joined and how you came to Krishna consciousness or the Bhakti tradition. Just to give a brief summary of your upbringing, your family, how it all happened.
So that's a very good question to start with, actually. So like any typical Indian family, right? So I was born in India in an Indian family, all pious, religious people. And that's how my start was. The difference was, however, I come up with this mindset where, I ask a lot of questions. And I was doing the same thing with my family also. Why are we doing this? What's happening? And a lot of other questions I was not getting answers for. So what started happening for me was I started stepping away a little bit, saying, I believe in these things, but I don't think people are kind of much practicing it. So interestingly, what started happening after that was then I came to Toronto on a project assignment. And that's when, my positive connections with the family also has kind of become a little bit hourly conversations rather than the full connect that we used to have. And I started slipping a little bit into darkness and loneliness. And then, that's where I started seeking out spirituality, and I ended up volunteering myself for the Festival of India without even knowing what it was. Yeah, so it was a very fun experience. I talked to devotees who were there full 2 days, got my first copy of Bhagavad Gita from there, and that was just a start.
And
It's
what
amazing.
and what was your first impressions when you saw, individuals, devotees practicing? Did it come across as something completely foreign to you? Did you have to make some huge adjustments to your life?
No, so for me, it was a very interesting experience because, as I was saying, I was alone, lonely. I went out to different yoga centers, and each of them I rejected with the idea that you're not taking actions based on what you're preaching already. So, your words and your actions don't align. My first impression on that Festival of India on the Central Island was that, people are doing exactly what they're talking about. And I don't know, there was something so blissful about that conversations that I've had with people, and it was so life-changing. It's like 2010 to now, it's so many years, and it's always stuck to my heart.
That's amazing. And what kind of services did you do at the Festival of India? Like, how did you get involved in that? And how did it happen?
So thanks to all of those team members who do these advertisements, I saw this advertisement in the subway saying Festival of India, volunteer yourself. I had no idea what ISKCON is. I had no idea who Jagannath was, and so on, right? So I get this invitation saying, come in for the volunteer orientation program. And the address is 243 Avenue with some Hare Krishna Center, which I have no idea what it is. I end up going because it said free food. So that's how I ended up being there. And the service I was being given was to hold ropes around the chariot of Lord Jagannath. So I was not being satisfied. I've done a lot of these festival organizations and stuff during my graduations and stuff. And that is the pleasure that I was seeking again through this volunteer exercise. And what so happened was they were telling me, okay, you're going to do this 45 minutes of service and that's it. And I was like, no. So I ended up doing that service, then going to the center island and did anything and everything that everybody was talking about. Like, oh, you're holding up something heavy, I'm going to lift that for you. You want things to be packed up towards the end of the day, I was there for that also. So somehow I ended up being on the island, just doing anything and everything that was happening there.
Wow.
So no particular service, but I don't know why, I just did that.
And how did you feel when you were engaged in so much service? Like, sometimes when we're in the workplace, we have assignments that take few hours to do. We can feel
Yeah,
drained, but did you experience something
it
different?
was divine. And I'm using the word divine now. I did not have an understanding at that time. So just to explain you how much it touched my heart was, as I said, I was supposed to be on the island for just an hour or so for the service. I ended up coming back at the last ferry, helping after the wrap up of the book tent and everything. And when I went home and I was taking my shower, I was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra without even having heard that ever before that day.
Mm.
And then the next day morning, the level of excitement was so high that I was on the island even before anybody else, even the organizers of the festival, because I was so excited to be there.
Awesome. And so then after your service at the Festival of India, what happened after that? What did you do? Did you start coming to the temple? Did you start doing bhakti yoga in your daily life? What did you do?
So when we came in for this entire volunteering thing, right, during the volunteer orientation program, they said, for these 2 days of your service, do you mind not eating meat or something because you will be in the service of the Lord? I said, sure, not a problem. The
Mhm.
most interesting change that happened after that was, after that weekend, I did not eat meat at all. And I did not
Wow.
even realize that I'm not doing that. It was
Mhm.
only after a week later that they did this volunteer thanks lunch thing, right? And I'm over there. And then, as I said, 2 days I was helping out anybody and everybody over there. And everybody started pointing me out of the crowd of volunteers and saying, thank you so much. You helped us so much. And at the end, I was saying things that I had no knowledge about. Like, to be very honest, I was saying things such as, oh, you are my family. And, I was doing service for Krishna and I have no idea. Like, these are things that came in as a philosophy afterwards to me. But I don't know how on that day I was talking about all of those things and I connected with the devotees from day one. It was a very different experience that, you can understand only once you experience it.
Mhm.
Just by conversations with words, probably that feeling is difficult to express. So anybody and everybody who's not attended that festival should be doing that to experience what I went through.
I like the fact that you talked about how, like the devotees you met, they told you to, just uh, have vegetarian meals for that period. And then you said naturally you were able to adopt that lifestyle. Like it didn't come out of, some like
Yeah,
artificial endeavor. Did you see and
absolutely.
like did you see any other changes or shifts in your own life about like whether it was through your eating habits or other things that you just saw just came naturally?
So yes, from that day till today, when I look back, there is a lot of change. Okay. And I'm going to talk about changes which may look artificial to an extent. Like, for example, I'll say this: a lot of control on emotions such as anger, right? The thing is, even today I get angry. It's not like that I don't. I've not become that saintly person out there, right?
You
But
look
the
pretty
fact
you
is,
look pretty happy to me all the time.
thank you for saying that. Things are working, which means. So yeah, so how much of stimuli is needed for you to come to that breaking point. I think that is what has changed. Earlier it used to be any little bump with anybody in the store and you're angry, versus now, okay, close family members where you have a lot more expectations, they're saying something is angers you, but not people in general. So all these are just symptoms of what change I feel. But I also want to express this fact, deep within the heart, and there's no word probably that I can use to describe it. Deep within the heart, there is this different level of satisfaction. The only way I can express that is, if you were thirsty out on a summer holiday, uh, coming out from outside in the sunny day, and you have this glass of water, that satisfaction that you feel within is what this process has given me. I have no other
Mhm.
ways to express that except for just that satisfaction, and everything else is just a symptom that comes in afterwards, because you're satisfied within. Happiness comes in, and all the other aspects just kind of start coming in from there.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I like that analogy. It's really nice how you can feel it all within when it's like that satisfaction. Um, but you see that you feel the satisfaction, but were you able to, did you have any obstacles or challenges during when you started beginning your journey?
Yes. Uh, I don't think that's possible not to have obstacles or challenges
Mm-hmm.
in any journey that you take, right? So for me, I think the biggest challenge was me myself, right? Um, so when I started the journey, like for example, like, I was the only one in my family who started doing this, right? So for me to help my family members understand what am I doing, and that what I'm doing is not crazy and it's very rational and it's a very nice science. That was the first thing, like, because when you first like something, you just get excited and bubbly so much that you just go around doing things, explaining it with half knowledge, and I did that,
Mm-hmm.
and that was, and after I went through that phase where I'm trying to explain, people started seeing changes in me, and that convincingly telling them that what I'm doing is the right thing, it's a good thing, it brings goodness. I think that was like one challenge that I did really face, was to let people around me know that I'm not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What would you
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to, like newcomers who are looking to start this path of bhakti yoga? And like you said, there's always going to be challenges, but suppose you just start, 1 month in and then you feel like
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
going
a
through
that's a
so
wonderful
much.
thing, right?
Yeah.
As a newcomer, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, as a
yeah.
newcomer or anybody who's trying to seek out something out there which they're not fully aware of. So there are three stage thing that I always talk about. And, even the scriptures reveal that to an extent, the Vedic scriptures. But, the first thing is, don't just take things blindly. Ask questions, reason it out, rationalize it with yourself. Till when you're not convinced about anything, you're not going to do it, right? So the part where you're able to have the intelligence to ask questions is actually needed. It's for a reason that we have that ability to question things. That asking of questions is pretty important, right? So that's like the first stage. Just don't take things blindly. Just because you've been told to do things, just don't start doing it. Feel free to ask questions till when your intelligence is not satisfied, right? Then that brings to the second point. When we are asking questions, there's an important element to that also. That important element is the fact that you have to approach with an open mind. If we go and ask questions with a pre-notion of things and just
Mm-hmm.
trying to validate what my understanding is, then asking questions is not helping us, right? So when we are asking questions, go with an open mind. There's no commitment to follow what you're being told, but at least listen, at least
Exactly.
understand, right? And the final thing after that, what I feel is very important is do not hesitate to take actions, right? You've asked questions, you've listened to the answers, but sometimes, just listening answers does not help. You have to actually practice it. And sometimes we may not be able to fully understand an answer till when we've not tried it out ourselves. So again, there's no commitment. Try it out for a week, for 10 days. Like, for example, we talk about chanting and we talk about so many different things. Just try it out once for yourself. You're not satisfied? Fine. There is no commitment. But these three-stage things is what I would seriously, people, if you're able to think and do that, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it definitely helps one learn and grow when you have an open mind and want to actually ask those questions and not just be like rigid in your own thinking. Because then how are you going to grow in your practice if you're not willing to?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so what were some of the things that you did personally, like when you were beginning to grow? Were you like attending classes or did you have somebody to help you? What were you doing?
Yes. So the first thing I started doing was, is obviously talking to different people. Like that
Hmm.
was a nature of mine already, as I said, I asked questions and I was doing that. Started getting satisfactory answers. And all of those answers started coming in as references to all of these amazing Sanskrit texts that people were talking and showing me the books about. I said, okay, I think it's high time I should read. That's where the action came in, right? So I started reading it myself. When I read one line, I had 10 questions. So I kept going into that cycle. And fortunately, yes, there were people like, Mahabhagwat Prabhu, and there were so many other nice devotees who were helping me out through this journey of getting my questions answered. So it was a nice journey. The only thing that I think I did right was to maintain consistency of reading, asking questions, reading, asking questions.
Mhm. And can you tell us a little bit more of what does a day in the life of Sudarshan look like in the context of practicing and other things? I'm very curious because I know we've had interactions in the past, and I know you have work-related commitments, you have family-related commitments, you have spiritual commitments. Just tell us a little bit more about yourself and how do things look like in a day?
So that's again a very good question, because my life is no different from anybody else's. The only difference probably would be is I just understand the difference of doing it for myself versus doing it as a service. Right. So yes, my day, weekdays, like anybody else, I'm doing my 9 to 5 jobs. But before I go up for my job, I start my day getting up early in the morning and doing my chantings before I go to work, just to keep me in that good consciousness, which helps me at workplace also. And then after work, we're doing our on depending on different days, like Thursdays, Saturdays, we're doing the Bhakti Academy, the Bhagavad Gita classes. Mondays, I'm doing some service in the Skyward Temple, and then so it's a planned approach where you've kind of distributed your time and saying, this is my work hours, this is my time for the family, because I have a 6 years old daughter also, and she also needs time. We need to give time to our family also. So it's like family time, service time, office time, just a little bit of distribution. And the way we do it is we have this big calendar at home behind our door, in which we have dates and frequencies of things marked. That this is blocked for this, and we make sure that everything is getting timed.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, like how your interactions at work would be. Like, you have, like you mentioned, this overflow of joy that you have, and naturally, I would think would resonate towards your colleagues. Like, do
Yes.
you do you share, what you've learned, what you're practicing with them, or is there some reservation and you feel like it's something that I'd rather do when I'm at our center?
No, I'm very open about sharing the philosophy that I follow. Um, I've also started, wearing the tilak to work, and things like that. There are a couple of things that naturally start coming into the place. Like, when oh, I don't have tea, coffee. Why? And then that's a conversation starter for things. Like, it's not like I'm an alien out there with a very different mindset of things, right? But to your point, right? What we are doing as spiritual practice is just one aspect of our life. And if we are not trying to hide or kind of create an unnatural behavior around it, people accept it lovingly.
Mhm.
And people are out there who are open, and they're just, okay, you go your way, I go my way, worst case, that's the thing, right? But conversations such as with colleagues and saying, why don't I eat outside, why don't I do this, why are you restricting your life so much? I said, I'm actually seemingly more happy than you are. But that conversation, that openly, if you're doing it, people understand why you are not doing certain things or doing certain things, and it just kind of makes your life easier. Hiding
Mhm.
just makes it difficult otherwise. I have this one example that if I may just share, at my workplace, because I share this concept with everybody else, and I wear my tilak also, so I'm even more conscious that I have to give quality deliverables, and I have to be in high
Mhm.
quality delivery. That helps me. That's why I do it, right? And what happens because of that is people acknowledge that, and they say there is some connection. Your spiritual practice and your good output, there's some
Mm.
connection, and then they get interested, and then they
Mhm.
appreciate it, and then they let you do what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think finding that balance, but also not being afraid is so important. And I think it shows how you're approaching it with your colleagues and at work, that you have to be open and honest about yourself to others. And then it helps you as well as a person, because you're just like, okay, I'm going to just be true to myself. And, why am I afraid? I think
Yeah.
that's really amazing to see and something that all of us can learn from.
Absolutely.
And so, my question would be like, what inspires you to continue practicing and practicing bhakti? Like, what is inspiring all of this?
Two levels. One is a self-assessment.
Hmm.
When I look back of where I was and when I look at where I am now, that's the biggest inspiration. Saying, if from such a low point of consciousness, if you're able to do something,
Mm.
uh, with total no controls to little control on your emotions, feelings, etc., and the effect of that you are able to see everywhere: better family relationships, better professionally, better, in all aspects, you're being just more happy and more satisfied. I think that is where a lot of inspiration is drawn from. Like, very little effort put in. It's not like, I'm doing a lot. Little effort put in, giving so much of results. And when we look at others around us, when we're looking
Hmm.
at all of these people who are sincerely practicing the spiritual values as it is taught to us, we can clearly see that, how they are much amazing in all of these different aspects. Then it's not like they have left behind anything. They have not left behind their family. They have not left behind their professional careers. They have not left behind enjoying and partying also, for that matter. Right? All of that is just encompassing into this one spiritual practice, and all of them is perfect just because you're doing these things. So that inspires you. I want to do it the same.
Hmm.
What advice would you share to maybe someone who's starting their practice and uh, you know just trying to get caught up in their workplace engagements or their college university endeavors, and they may say, I'll wait till I'm retired to take this on. We hear about that from a lot of people who are looking to do something different
Yeah.
spiritually.
Yeah. you know the way I keep myself away from that kind of thought that I will do it when I get old is, I don't think there is anybody who can guarantee the fact that I'll reach to that age. Who knows when death is going to come in? So
Hmm.
basically the point is, do we do the same thing for any other aspect? Do we do that for saying, oh, when my child gets a little older, I'm going to spend time with them at that time? Or for that matter, whole week I'm not going to eat. Maybe on the weekend I'm just going to sit in for 5 hours and gobble up things. It does not work that way. We cannot
Hmm.
postpone things that is needed at this time. That's not a
Hmm.
natural way of operating. That does not help out. So, and also the fact that, we don't, we have done this, and we always, like, the joke in our, when I was doing graduation was, we would always start our preparations for the exams just one day before the exam itself. Right? That's so natural for us. And every
Yeah,
time we would take it,
procrastination.
absolutely, right? And then you think, next time I'm not going to do this mistake. I'm going to start from the very beginning, right? So why do that with your life also? Like, why always push it towards the end where you may just kind of feel yourself so strained? Take it nicely and easily throughout. It's a very happy, blissful journey.
Hmm. For sure. Yeah, I think you have to start now. It's not something that you're gonna wait and be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it next time. That's a really good way to approach it.
Yeah.
And I think you make a really nice point because sometimes it takes a lot of obstacles in our life to pursue this path.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But why wait till then? Why not just get ahead of it? And then if there are challenges along our way, then we'll be better equipped to handle it. We'll have a strong
True.
spiritual faith.
True.
Yeah.
We
And
don't
I
say I'm
think
going to
it's
start
just
learning mathematics when I'm 10 because it's easier at that time. We don't
exactly.
do it.
Yeah. And I think you can't be like, oh, I'm right now in trouble. Like I'm really busy right now. I can't do it. And then I'll do it later. But then you're going to be busy later. And then there's always something that's happening in your life where
Absolutely.
you are going to have something going on. So you can't just keep on saying, okay, I'll do it later, do it. Like you have to kind of integrate now. And I like just like going back to what you said about how you balance your life with the calendar and then balancing with your family and your kids. Like I think that's really important to have that balance to integrate both your material and spiritual life so that you can practice it in a way that isn't I think not making maybe your material pursuits like your work and everything go down compared to your I think you just have to find a way to integrate both of them in a way that's balanced. Um, and so how are you, I think like with your family, how is your family? I think you said at first they were they didn't know about this and then you were kind of telling them, and now is your family involved in practicing bhakti?
Yes. So again, different family members at different levels. But
Hmm.
to your point, this balancing thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
Just to first kind of talk about that a little bit. We talk about saying, I'm doing chanting, so that's spiritual, and I'm doing my office work, that's material, and I need to create a balance between the two of
Hmm.
them. Uh, I think the best thing is the way we do it through the calendar system and the way we engage in as a family is the fact that everything that we are doing can be done in a spiritual manner. So
Hmm.
it's not like you have to create a balance between saying, should I reduce this to increase this? Everything, you just kind of change a little bit of flavor to it, to just add the spiritual coating to it. So for example, um, it's my daughter's birthday coming in,
Mm.
right? So we're going to have a birthday celebration. The difference is, yeah, we're going to have some kirtan, we're going to have prasadam distributed over there, we're going to have kids playing games, but that's Krishna themes. They're going to have some storytelling that is going to happen over there, so on and so forth, right? So everything we're doing, if we're having fun, we're having a part. It's just that you kind of ensure that Krishna is in the center.
Hmm.
Similarly, when our family times also involve, okay, let's go to the temple together. We're socializing over there also. We're having friends over there also, right? So we just do things together while keeping Krishna in the center. So that's kind of the way we are able to maintain spiritual aspects
For
with the
sure.
family aspects, because we are doing things together,
Hmm.
right? I don't have to create separate pockets.
No.
Yeah. I like the fact that you mentioned like using your daughter's birthday as an example, that you're doing activities tied to your faith. And in this day and age, especially with children, there's a lot of things going out there, whether it's technology, social media, and so forth. How
Right.
are you raising your daughter? Like, what is it that you want, to see in her life? I think that'd be a valuable insight that we can share with a lot of our listeners as well, who are raising children or thinking of
Absolutely.
bringing
Absolutely.
children.
Thank you for bringing that up. It's again a very important topic, right? Again, different people, different parenting styles. But I think at the heart of it is the fact that what you have to lead the kids with examples. So if you're doing it, the kids will do it. And I think because I was at that point myself where I drifted away because the questions were not being answered, I think kids have to be encouraged to ask questions, and you do answer them satisfactorily and do things with them, right? Um, so that's one easy way to give them that pace. Now coming to the point that you were talking about technology, for example, right? Again, different people, different opinion. In my personal view, like everything can be used in a spiritual context. So it's not like my daughter is not using technology, and it's not like she's not being taught all the modern day age and all these things, right? But it's just that she's engaging all of that in the right way such that her consciousness is being maintained. Like it's we use phones. Uh, can we be without phones? Probably not, because that's kind of how these technologies got integrated into our life. At any workplaces, even in studies, we're using technology. So it's all integrated so much that to eliminate and go to that pure Vedic ways of doing without technology, it's probably very difficult, or if not impossible. Right? So we just have to ensure, what is to be ensured is we don't have to be fanatic about, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. We just have to ensure that the consciousness is being maintained, that they're aware of their behaviors, they're aware of what they're supposed to be doing as human beings, what are their value systems. If that is in place, then they will be able to make their own well decisions of how to engage with all of these different technologies and other aspects to make sure it's doing the right thing.
I like that answer. It's so inspiring. And just like you've described a lot in terms of your life, your day-to-day life, taking care of your daughter, family, workplace engagements. Are there any moments where you just feel overwhelmed, like you may need to recharge, or sometimes people say disconnect to connect. And what do you do to kind of continue the
Yes,
momentum?
it does happen. I think in every aspect it does happen. Like there's a moment when you're like, oh, why am I doing this? Now this is where my professional hazard comes in. I'm an analyst by profession.
Mhm.
So my way to start assessing everything is to take a step back, think for a moment of what am I doing, and what is the value that I'm deriving out of it. Did it even do any benefit? And when I look back to the conversations that we were doing before, right? When I look back and saying, oh, what I'm doing is really helping me out, then that is like, okay, no, I need to do more. And so that we for me, the best thing is just take a moment, think of what's going right. Like again, for those in the IT industries would know the term agile and that concept over there, but it's kind of a very logical concept. What's going right? What did not go right? And what needs improvement? What is that is stopping me from achieving the goods? Just that reflection itself, just give properly analyzing that, you're going to come to the point where you come, okay, I need to continue my spiritual path, and then you connect back again.
Mhm.
I mostly, for me, it's funny, I do that during shower times. And so my shower time's a little longer. I'm kind of infamous in the family for that. I think too long a shower.
Well, let me know what your next water bill is, and help you out.
Fortunately, I don't have to pay, so I'm good.
Oh,
All
okay.
utilities inclusive.
Oh,
Perfect.
that's good.
That's why. That's why. Otherwise, I'll find another way to do that.
Yeah, just find another area to reflect.
Yeah, take a walk or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so
but yeah,
good. That's good to hear. Yeah.
it's good. Yeah, different people, different ways to do it.
Mhm.
Reflection is important.
For sure. I think that's like going back to our point that we made earlier about how when you're trying to learn and grow and ask questions, and you have to also ask yourself questions, um,
Correct.
and see what's stopping you or what's hindering you and where you can expand.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think we wanted to ask you what types of things you do. I heard that you cook and and then you also give classes. So what kind of services do you do to practice? A lot of everyone has different ways of practicing bhakti, like some do art or reading or going on walks. So what are some things that you love to do when you're practicing?
Just to set up the expectations, I don't cook. I only assist in cooking.
Oh,
Good answer.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not good. I'm only good for cooking of survival of my own. Like I can't feed anybody else. They're not going to eat what I cook. But yeah, so for me, I really, really love the aspect of engaging with people for discussions. uh, you know, the aspect of, yes, I'm giving a lot of in different places. I've been given this opportunity to do lectures and discussion forums. And I really love that because then I'm able to engage with youths and all these different people. And the reason I love that mostly is and again it's come to self reflection, is the fact that if I've been able to explain something to anybody, then in that case I know it.
Mhm.
And if you're asking me questions and I'm not able to answer, I know what I don't know, so I can go back and
Mhm.
study. So I just do more of learning so that I can do more of teaching, which brings to more of learning. So that's so services. So that's where my focus becomes a lot, because that's also an instruction given to me that I'm supposed to be going in and teaching out. So, but yeah, there are other services also that I get engaged with. There are a little bit of temple services that is happening. There is a little bit of cooking assistance services that I would do, and I can do anything and everything because I just love it.
Was there anything that when you first joined, you talked about Festival of India and being engaged there. One thing that I often hear about is through this path of bhakti, you can engage someone's talent accordingly in some form of service. Do you have any hidden talents that, was just manifested more when you came into this practice?
uh, I I would say being in ISKCON for so many years and being with experts like you just mentioned, being able to find out those hidden talents in you, I've developed so many different skills. Like I now know how to chop vegetables properly. As a matter of fact, like things these are just there was this devotee when I was doing services in India, Noida, right? I just had this random interest in doing photography, for example. He just said, "You're the official photographer of the temple going forward," and I started doing that for years and years. So on and so forth. There are all these expert devotees. I I found out so much more about me. Like the latest one that I'm working on is learning music, something that I never thought I'm ever going to do. So that's the beauty about spirituality over here. You start discovering so much more about yourself also, and how all of that talent can be used, and all of these experts kind of end up using that, engaging, and that's so much satisfying.
For sure.
Like,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think when you can not only just dovetail your talents for, like, if you're good at arts, then you use that art for spirituality, but also you learn a lot of things, because I think for example, for us to India, like you're just given, oh, can you just do this or can you do that? And you're just like,
yeah,
oh, I don't know. Okay, sure. And then you end up knowing, oh, wow, I just learned that I can do this. And so I think it's
absolutely.
really cool that you can, and not only, like, it's not only in the workplace or something, like there's a lot to learn in bhakti yoga where you can develop so many skills and so many services that you do. And I agree with cooking. I'm not a cook, not at all. But that I remember a few years ago in Dallas, I was being taught how you have to cut the green peppers exactly this size, and I was like, okay. So
I
yeah,
know, I
I
know.
think it's
My entry point to kitchen, how, and my first service in Toronto temple was washing dishes.
mhm.
Oh,
And
nice.
that was the only part of the kitchen that I knew was to just wash dishes. And that by itself alone also helped me so much. You can say it's
Yeah.
such a lonely service. You're not doing something important, but you don't wash dishes. There's no cooking happening. There's no feeding happening. There's nothing happening. You don't do it. So everything is important.
Mhm.
It really is a wholesome experience, bhakti yoga. And I know that just knowing yourself, Sudarshan, like when I see you at the center, you're engaged in so many different things. It's cooking or assisting in cooking, like you say, washing dishes, giving classes, so forth. I wanted to ask you if you also do any preaching work, if you go out on um, any activities where you go to yoga studios or universities, and any experiences you can share in terms of the perception that people have when you speak to them.
So preaching, or basically telling people about Krishna consciousness, or just kind of sharing that philosophy with others, I think it happens at every moment of time. uh, Even when we are using the elevators over here in my condo, right? I'm wearing my dhoti kurta, my tilak, and coming back from the temple, and just because you're being polite, opening the door, saying, people observe that, and that's also in a
Mhm.
way saying spiritual values, good behavior. They're able to tie things together. They're able to tie, people with dhoti tilak to spiritual practice, something. So in that way, everybody is preaching. So it's not like explicitly if you're going to universities and doing that. But to your point, yes, I did kind of play a trick uh, with the help of my godbrother when I was went for an India trip last time. I went to different colleges to talk about all these business and professional things that I work with. But then I sneaked out last 15 minutes to tell them, guys, no matter how much knowledge you take, you have to have spiritual foundation. Otherwise, it does not lead to a long-term peaceful success. You're not going to get that endeavoring thing, that resilience in your work. So I sneak out such aspects sometimes here and there, and have that conversation. And I think there's a generic theme that I hear, at least, is most of the people, they're not rejecting the idea of spirituality per se. I think they're not satisfied with what they're being offered, because they
Mhm.
have this satisfaction that, come on, there's so many people out there doing things for a commercial motive, or for any other motive that they have, and it's not for general well-being of the people. But when they connect with the genuine spirituality, like I did on that Festival of India Day in 2010, it changes life.
Mhm. Is there any advice that you would give, if there's one takeaway from, the discussion that we had today, and someone is, really enthused and they want to know what's the next step here, what would you say to them?
Talk to people. If you have a doubt, ask it. If you're not satisfied, just talk about it. Just reveal. The problem is, people are not able to help others. Also, even those who are genuinely wanting to help are not able to help because you're not revealing your heart. I know it takes a little bit of while to develop trust. Take that time and then reveal your heart, and the person will be able to help you out. In terms of, because everybody, they accept it or not, have this dark corner within somewhere where they have hidden their emotions. They don't talk about it. For spiritual perspective, for mental health, you name any of these different things. For all of this, it is very important to at least talk. Feel free to express. I think that's one thing that I love within our community over here is the fact that I can just go and talk to people, and there's no judgment that happens, and I can just reveal my heart out there, keep it out there, and just people just help out. They're not trying to judge. What? That's so pleasing. And so just do that.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that. And for yourself, do you have, specific people that you go to when you have challenges? Like how do you deal with things that you're trying to get resolved?
I have a lot. I have a lot of people. So starting from on top, my spirit, my guru mata. They're obviously on one end of the spectrum. Then there are my mentors. There's so many of them. I mentioned Mahabhagavad, for example, and then there are other godbrothers and sisters of mine who are helping me out a lot. And even for that matter, my parents, my family members, even my daughter sometimes. She also helps me in, coming back to the path sometimes. This is one incident um, where I'm driving and then I probably did something wrong and, I got honked. It's like, what happened? Why did somebody I did wrong? Why? I was thinking about something and I got lost in the thoughts. Then what were you thinking about? I said, I was thinking about this. I said, no, you should be thinking about Krishna. Now, 6 years old, reminding me that I'm supposed to be thinking about Krishna and not about anything else. That's so beautiful, right? You can get help from anywhere.
Yeah, for sure. It's those who you associate with, and it's your support system that really helps you get through those challenges. So, I think it's important, and I think like where we are in our Bhakti tradition and our center as well, there's so many people around that are there to help you, and it does feel like a family. And I remember how you said when you first joined, you're like, how is it already feeling like a family when I'm here like, for the first time? And I think it's because of the people. It makes it into a family atmosphere, and everybody is so kind and open and encouraging to others, and
Yeah,
that's what makes you not afraid. And I think it's important to have that in your practice. It's not just about yourself, but the others around you that help you.
absolutely. Absolutely. You always need help.
Mhm.
We're not experts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but this is
And
wonderful.
is there anything else you'd like to add that we might have missed today?
No, I think this is a wonderful conversation, and I'm really thankful for this initiative that is being done. All I can say to the people out there who are listening to this, is um, please come. We're all there to have the conversation as we talked about because talking is important. There are so many different people, so many different backgrounds, so many different ways of thinking. I'm sure you will find somebody out there whom you will be able to talk to. Don't just keep things to yourself and let it burden your heart. Let us serve you in whatever ways we can.
Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Thank
Sudarshan.
you.
It's been such a pleasure, and it was so great having you join us at Transcendental Talks Toronto and sharing how Bhakti has actually transformed your life and how you've actually integrated it and found that balance. And it's just been wonderful to learn. And I think our listeners will feel inspired as well and take that what your experiences are and try to bring it into their lives as well.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to be tuned in to hear about others' experiences so that I learn from
Mhm.
that. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining, and we hope to see you again in the very near future.
Yes, for sure. With greater audience and greater speakers.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.